Did you know Dr. Naomi Wolf with our dear friend Monica Crowley listening as we speak? She's already texted me. Good morning, sweetheart. We love Monica. Did you know that Naomi is also my mother's name?
Oh, that's so cool.
Put that closer to the microphone, right?
Got it, yeah.
There you go. Yeah, she's 91, Naomi Rosenberg.
Wow.
It's a great name.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Give me, when you called me a firebrand on Twitter, what does that mean exactly?
Well, you're forceful and you have strong opinions and you don't hold back. And especially now in this time of people being canceled for standing firm in their viewpoints, I respect that. So that's a firebrand.
Awesome. I told you it was a compliment, Louis. She basically said what I said, which is I'm not afraid to deliver a hot take, hot fire. And I'm not worried about the repercussions because they don't really exist anymore. A lot of people are not getting canceled anymore. You know, the truth is, when you tell the truth, there's nothing to be afraid of, is there?
Short term, there are things to be afraid of. Long term, I guess the truth always triumphs.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, you've got truth for me here, right? Because your contention is that Mamdani, the mayor, did not win the election. That, in fact, there was a whole bunch of fraud. I had a lady in here a couple of days ago, Molly Honig, and she has the same contention and also reams and reams of information that speaks what you're going to speak about this morning. So there seems to be a cavalcade, if you will, of people now that are stepping up and saying that the mayor really didn't win. That's how you feel, right?
I would put it a little bit differently. We can't say that this mayor won because his election and the primary we just had in June are so corrupted in so many ways. There's no way to claim that that was a fair election, given the massive amounts of fraud that are being confirmed.
Okay, well, let's start with the ballot, okay? We know that in the race, Sliwa was on one line, right? That was one line too many. Cuomo was on two, and Mayor Mamdani was on two lines, right? Is that usually the case? Or?
It's my understanding that Mamdani was on two lines and Cuomo was on one. But what's definitely the case is that Mamdani was on two lines, two different political parties. And we have a sworn statement from William Egdorf, who is a poll worker, who said that they were being trained to feed overvotes into the machines scanning the ballots. In other words, if people were confused seeing Mamdani's name on two lines, instead of discarding those ballots, which you're supposed to do, which the rules had up until then, they were instructed to feed them into the machines. My own candidate, I advised a wonderful candidate named Athena Clark.
She was on this show, Athena.
That's right.
Yeah.
And she ran for city council in Brooklyn. She, a DSA candidate, fought hard to keep her off the ballot. The reason I think this is really important is that Mamdani, quote unquote, won by exactly the number of votes he would have gotten if the machines had scanned over votes. So they need to be looked at.
All right. Yeah, right. It was Curtis was on two lines, Cuomo 1 and Mamdani 2. So the primary shows, and this is going to be some daunting evidence, the primary shows Dr. Naomi Wolf, over 100,000. Listen to that number, 100,000 blank ballots counted on Board of Elections website, over 100,000 blank ballots. How could that be the case?
It's incredible. You can go to the Board of Elections website and see this. They break down the votes for one candidate, for another candidate, but they also list blank ballots, and then they keep that in the total. In some precincts, 1 in 10 votes cast was a blank ballot. You're supposed to discard those, but the Board of Elections has it right there on their website. When you add them up, it's more than 100,000. And while I was showing this live on my podcast, Outspoken, the Board of Elections website went down for 45 minutes. So that needs to be looked at. And Mr. Rosenberg, like, I'm a journalist. I'm an old-fashioned journalist. When multiple sources independently start confirming the same problem, that's when you have a news story. And what I'm seeing with the documentation, the acceptance of blank and what should be spoiled ballots at industrial scale, that is confirmed by your previous guest looking at another data source, right?
Right.
And it's also confirmed by Lulu Freisdat of smartelections.us and Jimmy Wagner, an attorney, who are right now in hearings with Judge Sweeney in Brooklyn. and they're finding masses of fake ballots being introduced, of broken seals on the envelopes containing ballots,
really?
Security problems. And they also found, I just got this text from Lulu Freistat this morning, and they're in court, arguing about this with the other side that's trying to keep them from looking at the ballots or looking at these problems. They found that the voter rolls of registered voters in New York do not match the ballots.
No kidding.
And that seems to be the same problem that just surfaced in New Jersey.
This is Dr. Naomi Wolf, and highly recommended by our dear friend Monica Crowley at the White House. And you know why? New Jersey, that was interesting too. Yeah, the governor there, I call her Mikey Muhammad Cheryl. She likes to walk around like it's Ramadan every week. And, she's blaming some software company for nearly 7,000 illegal registrations, 400 of which actually voted. That company said, we have nothing to do with this. And I have a good buddy who's a Secret Service guy, formerly living in either Maryland or Virginia. I forget, Russ Sullivan. He said, this is not about some software company. It's about the Democrats and cheating once again. Right. And Cheryl, of course, blames President Trump. She's great at that. She blames Phil Murphy because he's gone. But you're seeing some similarities between what's happened in New Jersey and what you claim happened, and I agree with you and believe you, in New York City.
Absolutely. I mean, what you're seeing is what cybersecurity experts or security experts would call multiple failures of security, multiple points of failure, such that the whole vote is corrupted and can't be taken as certifiable. Let me give you another example. My husband, Brian O'Shea, is an investigator. He sauntered in to the polling station on Winthrop Avenue in Brooklyn, Winthrop Street in Brooklyn, and gave a fake name and a fake address to see how far he could get. And they readily gave him, and this is in documentation that I shared with you, what they called a referral slip. One side was filled in. The other side is a form that's totally blank. And it's been in use since 2013. And you can Xerox it all you want and keep voting and keep voting. And they waved him right through. He's registered to vote in Columbia County. He's not even registered to vote in New York City.
Wow.
So multiply that by thousands and thousands, which is what Lulu Freistat is finding with Xeroxed ballots or fake ballots being mixed in. She's got photographs of this with real ballots, and with the Board of Elections fighting to not have observers like Freistat, Jimmy Wagner, certified observers close enough to look at the vote. And lastly, where the vote is being counted in a place called The Cage in Brooklyn. And I've sent pictures that Lulu Freistat took of this. It's shocking. They've got cartons of paper, the vote counters under the table at their knees. They've got printers lining the walls. They've got a 6-foot gap where people can just walk in and out with no security at all. They've got and they're the Judge Sweeney said, no, you've got to let the observers see within 4 feet of the counting, because that's how our system works. You're supposed to be able to have observers verify the vote.
Of course.
Remember 2000.
Sure.
But you can see that they put a table within 4 feet, but then they moved the counting 15 feet away from Ms. Freistat. And when she tried to watch last week, they escorted her out with security. They're telling Jimmy Wagner and Lulu Freistat, you can't record, you can't take pictures, you can't do audio recordings. These brave patriots are kind of smuggling photographs out. But what is the Board of Elections trying to hide? If everything was kosher, the observers could see the counting of the vote. But there's so many points of failure. I personally, Mr. Rosenberg, was walking down Winthrop Street 2 days after the election day and the primary. And I saw 2 workers escorted by no one from the Board of Elections taking voting booths and what looked like printers or voting machines out of the polling place. There had been no chain of custody for 2 days. And I took video of notices in some of those voting booths that say some ballots have 2 pages. Some ballots have 2 pages.
Wow. Dr. Naomi Wolf here uncovering what sounds to me like a pretty good conspiracy to make sure that Mamdani won. I know that you saw my friend, the president, speak last Thursday night on what happened with the 2020 presidential election and how the Chinese basically garnered millions and millions of American profiles and helped them in their efforts to make sure that President Trump didn't win. So my guess is that you agree with President Trump that some of these foreign enemies and adversaries are getting involved in these elections and costing worthwhile people victories, yes?
I think that the evidence that the White House is putting on its website of interference is overwhelming, and that any reporter would be foolish to disregard it. There's no question. Look, I was an advisor to Al Gore in 2000.
Sorry.
And, well, I switched.
I know, you're a great story. For people that don't know Dr. Naomi Wolf, she was on the other team.
I was on the other
for
team.
a long time.
I saw the light.
Was it, why, was it COVID? What made you see the light?
I got canceled in 2021 by my own side, by the Biden administration, putting pressure on social media companies to censor me when I was reporting accurate damage to women's reproductive health from the mRNA injection.
Right, from the vaccines.
That was a shocker, yeah.
Right, so you had the nerve. You had the nerve to go out there and tell the truth about some of the issues with the vaccines, and the Democrats canceled you. So now
my own side canceled.
Your own side,
the guy
right.
I voted for canceled me, Mr.
Well, they're
Rosenberg.
terrible people. You can call me Sid, by the way. We're close at this
Sid.
point. So are you like a MAGA Republican like me, or just kind of still kind of?
I mean, I'm registered as an independent, but everything President Trump is saying, and brilliant people in his administration, like Monica Crowley, like Harmeet Dillon, like Marco Rubio.
I love Harmeet Dillon. I love Marco Rubio.
What a team, right? They have become the common sense middle that, JFK Democrats used to be.
Yeah. So you must be happy with the
them.
work that my friend Ron Johnson is doing in Wisconsin, too, about the vaccine.
He's doing a good job. I'd like to see a lot of people go to jail who haven't yet. But I mean,
well, I think a lot of people wanted to see that.
Yeah. And maybe it'll happen. But to just go back to 2020, what both sides, Gore and Bush, did in 2000 would be called being election deniers today. They did all the right things. Their lawyers said, wait a minute, we're going to count every vote. There are some votes in question. You remember that if people who are old enough, those of us who are alive.
I'm actually old enough.
Remember what happened in 2000. Yeah. And our system worked, and the lawyers fought it out, at every level of the court, all the way up to the Supreme Court. I think it was 5 weeks after Election Day that we finally knew who won that election, because every vote was counted. Now, if you try to do that, you get, you face legal action, you face penalties of all kinds. But that's how our system is supposed to work. That is how our system is supposed to work. And there's so much more evidence of fraud in these last 2 elections, Mamdani's and the primary we just had, so much more even than in 2000 when there was.
When you say the primary we just had, we had a bunch of primaries. You're talking about all these DSAs, Chevalier and Valdez, and
some of
Brad
them,
Lander.
So first of all, this makes me really angry as a journalist.
I say you're getting all fired up. I love it.
Well, it's not okay. We're supposed to live in a representative democracy, and we're supposed to have real journalists telling the truth. The night that the June set of primaries in New York was allegedly completed, all the major news outlets had big news stories. Oh, DSA sweep, huge victories. Sid, the vote is still being counted.
Still,
it's not certified yet. No one has won yet.
Right.
And some of these...
But has Spencer Pratt even lost in Los Angeles yet? They're still counting that?
I doubt it very much, but you have to verify the vote to know. But some of these alleged elections, like Daria Liza Chevalier, the margins are so close. The one that Lulu Freisdat and Jimmy Wagner are contesting was 7 votes. That's a candidate, Bernard Weselberg, 7 votes. And so, the Board of Elections is trying to keep people from seeing, the recount to see who won that primary. So we don't know that there's been a DSA sweep. We don't know. It hasn't been verified. And with 100,000 blank ballots that were counted, we don't know who won the primaries, even when the Board of Elections claims to certify. Another thing that is super dodgy is that the Kendra Riddleberger, who had been the Board of Elections attorney when Jimmy Wagner and Lulu Freisdat started to contest they're being forbidden to oversee the count of the Weselberg primary meaningfully, she got sidelined. And then they brought in a new lawyer to represent the Board of Elections, actually a Canadian, which is interesting.
I can't trust them.
Right. And what are they hiding? So we don't know there's been a DSA sweep. We don't know that Mamdani was legitimately elected. We don't know who was supposed to be mayor of this great city. And that is not the way things are supposed to work in the United States of America. It has to be the feds need to step in. I think there's so many avenues, whether it's Jim Crow, this is a Jim Crow type situation, Sid, because so many New Yorkers have been disenfranchised. There has to be a way for the federal government to legitimately step in civil rights violations and say, stop everything. Yeah. We're going to force a recount.
Right. That's up on me, Dylan's alley. I'm trying to get her, just so you know, once Todd Blanche gets the actual position, gets confirmed by the Senate. I am reached out to President Trump already. I'm trying to get Harmeet Dillon to be the deputy AG, number 2 behind Todd Blanche. Right. Not going to be easy because everybody has their own candidate. She's great. And she'll agree with you about all this, Doctor. So last one, I guess in the final 60 seconds, Andrew Cuomo was only about 8 points behind. It's silly to mention Curtis. He was 1,000 points behind. Mm-hmm. So are you telling me that there's a chance that Andrew Cuomo may have very well have won that election? Or are you just saying to me, look, I'm not sure. All I'm saying is you really can't call Mamdani the mayor because, truth be told, with all this fraud, you can't really make an argument that he won.
Well, I'm certainly saying that you can't know that Mamdani won. But I, as a journalist, think it's so much smoke that the DSA fought so hard for my candidate not to be listed twice on the ballot, and that we have a poll worker saying in a signed affidavit they fed the double votes into the machines. The margin of Mamdani's victory is just about exactly what would have happened if the machines had scanned people who mistakenly voted twice. Wow. So we need to see it's possible that Cuomo won. It's very possible.
Wow. What a morning, Dr. Naomi Wolf.
What a morning.
This is huge stuff.
Yeah, it is.
So what can I expect to hear from you next? What do you think happens next, if anything?
I'm just going to keep following what Lulu Freistad and Jimmy Wagner are doing with Judge Sweeney's hearings. Judge Sweeney stopped everything, and he said he was going to count the ballots in that primary race. So there's a lot of activity. This should be a national story. All the legacy media is ignoring the fact that a judge in Brooklyn is saying, hey, wait a minute, this is not kosher the way the Board of Elections is running it. I'm going to step in and oversee myself the counting of the votes. That's huge. That's immense. So it should be covered. I'll keep reporting on it, and I'll be knocking on every door to try to get legal representation because my own rights got violated, of course, as a citizen of New York.
We'll keep bringing you back too. How about that?
Thank you. I'd love
and this, and it'll go national once you're on this show. So, Dr. Naomi Wolf, that's an excellent, excellent job. You're a wonderful guest and a great lady.
Thank you so much. I loved talking to you. Thanks for giving me the chance.
You got it. Dr. Naomi Wolf, making her debut right here on Sid Friends in the Morning. One of, I think, will be many, many, many appearances.
Thanks for listening to Sid and Friends in the Morning. You can hear Sid and Friends in the Morning weekday mornings at 6. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?